welcome to Sports Trebuchet. I'm Marty.
I'm Kyle.
Josh.
Nasta.
And Nasta's back in the building. We're excited for today's show. It's NFL Draft Day. Follow us at Sports Trebuchet on Twitter. Rate, review, subscribe. You don't just subscribe, download. You don't even have to listen. Just do us a favor. I like seeing the numbers.
Don't rate us.
You can email us at sportstrebuchetpod@gmail.com. And before we drop into my corner today, Kyle had an important question.
Very, very important. It's an existential question. And I want feedback from all three of you. When you poop, do you put your meat on your lap or let it hang in the poop soup? It's a question I saw on Facebook.
Wow.
This is why Facebook needs to die.
I'm sorry, on your lap or in the poop soup?
Let's do a quick survey, because the first thing I thought is,
What?
Who actually poops with their legs closed and touching?
Can we also do a survey as to who's got a dick long enough to touch the water?
Why is your toilet so
I guess
full?
it's dependent on the toilet, right? If it's maybe previously clogged and just sitting to, I can understand.
Then you get some other issues.
You only got like a quarter inch of that seat.
Well, real quick, Kyle, how old are you?
Old enough to party?
Under 30? Over under?
We're all over there.
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm
Josh,
33,
30,
yeah.
right?
Wait, listen. Wait until you turn over 40, your balls hit the
I'm not
water.
talking about your balls. I'm talking about your dick.
Oh, well.
So is that true? Your ears keep growing, your nose keeps growing, and your ball sack just keeps dropping lower?
Mm-hmm.
Is that why you wear such tight pants?
That's why I stopped jogging. You know how many times I gave myself blue balls?
Just
Oh,
Just
God.
bouncing around against my legs.
looks like a punching bag.
No. I do not poop with my legs.
No, me either. Mine just chills.
It just chills.
It's not, I didn't really ever think of the logistics behind it.
Honestly, it just chills, and depending on the type of seat, it's always a concern that my dick is going to touch the seat, because that grosses me out.
Yeah.
Or
In a public toilet.
there's the possibility that you're not just doing number two.
At home, I'm dry docking.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
can-
my thing. Like, I'm probably gonna pee at some point.
You can do
because
number,
I'm not
number
there.
3.
I've never pooped and not peed at least a little bit.
That's
Exactly.
number 3.
So if I
Number 3.
rest it on my lap,
Maybe
I'm gonna
you-
piss all over. the
Have you
floor.
ever had a poop with no pee?
No.
Right, okay.
No,
I'm making
no.
sure I'm not the crazy one.
No, I've never.
I think I've said that once and someone gave me
Well,
a
the
look.
worst is when you think your junk is hanging low, and it's not. And when you're peeing, and you're peeing out in front.
Oh, yeah.
And you
Underneath the seat.
peeing all over your fucking leg.
Yeah, underneath the seat.
Yeah.
It's like putting your hand on a hose.
It's like trying to put a letter
You look down, you got this
letter
wet
in a-
spot on your jeans, and you're like,
One of my biggest
how am I going to go
fears.
back to work if I don't piss in my pants?
Yeah, no, it's like trying to put a letter in a drop box and it just shooting back at you,
Ah,
just
yeah.
fucking like a wood chipper.
I'm like, man, I got
Well, that was good spirit.
I'm glad we started with that. On a more serious note, my corner, I wanted to talk about some recent retirements from professional sports.
Okay.
So, in no particular order, I'm going to start with basketball. Actually, it is going to be in particular order, so I could sit on that. I'm going to do basketball. So, Dwayne Wade and Dirk Nowitzki are done.
Okay, good.
Right.
I think great ambassadors.
Yeah, I have no issue with them. They need to go at this point.
Yeah, no, I don't think the argument's that they need to or they don't. They're probably even a year or two past when they probably should have been to be an effective contributor.
More for Dirk,
100%.
than Wade, because Wade could still kind of go, but he had a lot of miles put on him through playing in the playoffs so often.
Well, and once LeBron left the Heat, there wasn't much for him to... He was kind of not carrying the team, but he was a big part of the team where Dirk wasn't as much anymore. Dirk wasn't a centerpiece, points or scoring or creating chances like Dwayne was.
Could we have maybe witnessed an end of a true era? And what I mean by that, those two players stayed with one team.
Wade
throughout-
left.
Wade went to the Bulls.
Wade
Yes.
went to the Bulls. He also played in Cleveland with
You know what?
LeBron for a second.
You know what?
Happened. It was like a half
I
season.
do apologize. That is correct. Bulls was what, 1 year?
Mhm.
So
Then
out of
half a year
his
with the
20
Cavs.
years, 1.5 years, I think.
Yeah,
he
there's
was on.
of
Okay.
the top 10 oldest players that were in the NBA this season, there are only 2 players that had only ever played with their team. Dirk with Dallas and then Haslam with the Heat, I believe.
Yeah, he
Was the
never
other one?
left. God, you done
And what's his name from San Antonio last year?
Well, Parker came to Charlotte, right?
The Italian guy.
Manu Ginobili,
Ginobili.
Yeah.
Yeah, he stayed the whole time. Yeah.
He did. He was
Yeah,
there all the live long day.
I think it's probably the end of that era, but
Right.
I think it's probably the beginning of players and that not greedy, players having more control over themselves, right? Because that's what, like, with basketballs, there's a fucking car alarm going on out there, and it's driving me nuts.
Well, here's a question. Do you think Steph Curry ever leaves Golden State? They might pay him all the money in the world to stay.
I think Steph Curry will do exactly what you said, but I think maybe his last year, like 40 years old, he'll come to Charlotte.
I was going to say
one season.
Charlotte, I could see because he's
Like 1-2 years, but he'll be a Golden
Same
State.
as Lynch.
Right, playing with the Raiders for 2 years before he got all out.
I mean, there's a lot of play. I mean, even at home they do that. Bobby Zamora is the best example ever. He came off through Brighton, became a legend at Brighton, went to Spurs, West Ham, Fulham, QPR after us, and came to us for one more year to retire in the Championship to make the point of retiring.
Which I thoroughly enjoy people doing. I'm cool with the 1 year or the 1 day contract to retire.
Jonathan Stewart just did
and
it.
whatever. Yeah,
Panthers.
I was gonna cover him or just talk about him a little bit. But I'm a fan of doing that period. I think the weirdest thing with the Heat didn't win a title before Wade and Shaq, right?
Not before him.
Right. So both Dirk and Dwayne were responsible for bringing an entire franchise their first champion because Wade was the.
I personally have more respect for Dirk than I do Wade.
That's easy to say.
Dirk just did it the right way.
He did.
I think it's easy to say though too because Dwayne Wade was surrounded by Shaq at one point and then LeBron and Bosh at one point, where Dirk never really had a. He had plenty of twos.
He had Steve Nash for a bit.
He had Steve Nash, I think, before Nash fit his prime. I mean, yeah, the Finleys, the Jason Terrys.
Well, they weren't.
everything.
No, they weren't the LeBrons and.
Yeah.
But they're not Shaq, LeBron, or Bosh.
It wasn't
even
1A and 1B.
Yeah, at best, your Bosh could be like when they had Jason Kidd or right before Nash. In terms of like
Sean Marion.
Marion, I forgot. Marion had a really good run, but
he was a different kind of.
But
run.
when Rodrigue Brubois is like getting 20 minutes in a game,
Caron Butler was on that team.
Caron Butler was chewing on straws.
Who was the one that Jason
Terry. Jet.
Oh
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it hurts. It hurts to see Dirk leave, but also
He's still going to be around the team.
I got a question for all of us are sports fans here, of course. That's why we're doing this
sports.
podcast. Would you rather like Dirk? Would you rather get that one ring and know you did it the right way and you didn't have to get 3 superstars to help you, or would you rather have like Dwayne get those
the Heat and have
four rings and had.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, I think 4
At least
rings.
3.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Let's say 3 rings. Let's just use 3 as the number.
I think it was 3 because they only had 3 finals runs together, and the first one was against Dallas, and Dallas won.
Okay, that makes
So I think it's 3. And
No, so would you rather have, like I'm saying, would you rather have like, let's use like Wade, or even Kobe Bryant? Well,
as a
Kobe
fan of
did on
the
his own.
team,
No, just would you rather have just that one ring, knowing that you didn't need to have that superstar player to help you to get to that plateau, or would you rather have 4 rings and knowing that you had your Shaquille's and your LeBrons to help you?
I think I'd rather have the one just because the continuity with the team as well. Because it was a team. It was a team effort.
It was a team.
You can feel a little bit better about it. I feel like, it's kind of tough to say. Me personally, I'd feel better about that. I'd feel more gratified.
I think
kind of a win.
I think the trick in me even deciding between the two is I don't think Dallas fans or Miami fans truly deserved either. Because Dallas fans are very, very finicky. And you have the Mav fans for life, hashtag MFFL and shit, and they're diehards. And it was really cool seeing the Mavericks win after me growing up and having 10th row seats for $5 and seeing them get fucking destroyed by the Knicks with Derek Harper and shit.
Wearing your Roy Tarpley jersey.
Yeah, and they were like extremely bad. So it was really rewarding having a title. It's a little bit bitter not having 2, just because it went out on that other team on the Heat.
Yeah.
So I don't think anybody would say they'd rather choose the wrong way. If we're defining it as that, it'd be the right way. But, 4 rings is 4 rings.
4 rings is 4 rings.
Like, I don't look at the Warriors the same. Now, Warriors did not go out and get Durant and kept winning with just their core. Remember, their whole core technically had been draft picks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
I would respect them even more. But them getting Durant, I'm like, you didn't need Durant the first time around.
Yeah, but I think that was also, Durant took a cut to get there too, right?
Yeah, he was ring chasing.
Like that's Durant is lining up. It wasn't there lining up for Durant.
I have other issues with the Warriors. And
Yes.
We talked about it earlier. Yeah, I'm with you. So Houston whoops their ass.
So moving on, there's only a few names on here that I really want to talk about, but the quick notes would be Chris Johnson, former Titan running back.
Oh, wow.
East Carolina, properly retired.
Oh, yeah.
How electric he was. He was so great that one year.
Was it CJ2K?
Yeah, dude. He was, CJ2K when he broke 2,000 yards.
Yeah.
And Chris Johnson was ever really a running back when you were watching, right, Josh?
No.
So when he came out,
I heard of
he
that
ran.
name, though.
He came out running like a 4.28 40 coming out of the draft.
Super, super fast.
Insanely fast. And when he played, the Titans team that he happened to play on, he broke 2,000 yards rushing. Was he the first player ever to break 2,000? Or just the first one in a while or something like that? The dude, when he got in the open field, was just fucking lightning. It was crazy. And then he didn't fall off. I think he just got too many miles on him.
Yeah.
That was the beginning of
running backs having a shelf.
Backs. Yeah, that was when you start splitting your committee up.
Because didn't they have Lendell White as well?
Yeah, and Lendell was so spare.
Yeah.
But it was the perfect punch and run. Marshawn Lynch, speaking of punching and running, he's stupid fast.
He's just here so he won't get fined.
Marshawn Lynch is big time mood. So it's the most chill dude.
I came in at peak Lynch.
Peak media Lynch too, right?
Yeah. Well, no, I came in about a year before peak media Lynch, but Lynch was a beast from the word go when I first, beast mode or whatever he was. He was prime.
His college career and coming out into the NFL was a lot of fun to watch because he's always been a goofy asshole. It's like, what word would you use to describe your game? And he's like, fast. Nah, stupid fast. And it was that shit. And it was just
Rich Eisen did a thing with him on ESPN when he was in Buffalo. And it was Marshawn Lynch taking him to all the hot spots in Buffalo, so they went to an Applebee's.
That seems about right.
Marshawn Lynch was great. Jonathan Stewart, what do you mean to you as a Panther fan?
I don't know. I like Jonathan Stewart. He did have a costly fumble in the Super Bowl and shit that really hurt us. But he had a couple costly fumbles. But as a whole, a 10-year player in the NFL, well, he played 11. Sure. 10 was with the Panthers, 1 with the Giants. For a solid running back, that's you don't hear about that these days.
He was a long-lasting running back in the age of short shelf lives, which is something.
I liked him when he was in Oregon. To answer your question overall, I like Stewart. I hated D'Angelo Williams.
Here's my take. When they decided to pay both D'Angelo Williams and Jonathan Stewart, I thought they should have cut bait with D'Angelo Williams and just ran with Jonathan Stewart.
Yeah,
100%.
D'Angelo's a weird cat for me because
he also cried. He's still crying to this day about so much shit.
The big one I wanted to go over. I'm going to skip over Jerry Maclin because I really don't care. So we didn't really properly talk about Rob Gronkowski.
Okay.
And statistically, he's not the best tight end of all time, right? Because if nothing else, Tony Gonzalez played for forever. Antonio Gates is still playing.
Yeah.
And those big number guys. Do y'all think Rob Gronkowski is the top 3 tight end of all time?
I don't know enough tight ends to be able to give you that answer.
In your watching time, it's got to be a yes, right?
Yes.
Okay.
In my watching time, absolutely.
Jeremy Shockey, number 1.
Jesus fucking Christ.
But you got guys like Shannon Sharp, who was a beast.
Yeah.
Mark Chamorro, even though he's a shit person.
Shannon Sharp's career, it ended early because he got injured or something, right? Was it Sterling? Sterling.
Both of them had injuries.
That's right. Sterling was.
They weren't too
Green
sharp
Bay.
after all.
Yeah,
This is the way it goes.
I think
Frank Wycheck was awesome.
God, Frank Wycheck.
There are some really good tight ends.
Bill Bates.
I mean, the two top tight ends when I first came in were Gronk and Jimmy Graham.
Yep.
Because he was at New Orleans.
And I think Jimmy Graham is good, but I think he benefited from Drew Brees. And I guess you could say Gronk probably could benefit from his, but I think the difference was Gronk was so good that before the Patriots utilized him the way they did, tight ends just didn't line out wide like that. And that was a 40 chess move by the Patriots. And it was like, cool, put a safety on him, put a corner on him, put a linebacker. It doesn't matter because that dude's
big lad. Yeah,
because he's either going to be faster than you as a linebacker or he's bigger than you as a safety in a corner. He's going to body you down and catch the ball.
And I think that's where his legacy is, that he kind of revolutionized the position.
Yeah, I think so too.
To being a down the field, over the middle type threat. Now you see guys like a Travis Kelce that does it. Jimmy Graham does the same thing.
Or simply that you don't have to sacrifice stretching the football field or your passing game by putting a tight end on the field necessarily, because Gronk could also run block. He wasn't He wasn't as aggressive as Aaron Hernandez. We'd find out later, but
very aggressive. Don't go to his house.
But I mean, those two Iowa tight ends are going to be taken in the first round, almost for sure.
Definitely.
And if it wasn't for Gronk, I don't think that happens.
If it wasn't for Gronk, I don't think Fant gets drafted.
Really?
Well...
Or at least not in the first round.
Not in the first round.
Right.
Because Fant is very much the down-the-field threat, faster than hell type of tight end. Hawkinson is... He's more of a more well-rounded tight end. He can block pretty well as well. I think the thing that's going to hurt Gronk's legacy is his the longevity. He only played 7, 8 years, and then he was hurt a ton. To call him the best,
and that might, I don't consider him.
If he's healthy and he plays another 5 years. He's breaking every record.
Yeah.
And I don't doubt that he probably owns some record of touchdowns per catch. If
you're looking like averages,
catch to touchdown ratio, I bet you he's up there.
Number one, we all agree, Tony Gonzalez.
Right? I think Tony Gonzalez is the best.
Who would be number two then? Not Todd Heap, right?
Not Todd Heap.
That's hard. Would it be a Greg Olsen? You think Greg? Would you rate Greg Olsen in the top 5?
I don't think Greg Olsen breaks past Jason Witten.
Okay.
Yeah, because Witten's definitely up there for his longevity.
Yeah.
You gotta look at a guy.
Oh, what about Antonio Gates?
Antonio Gates is probably
could be number 2.
Yeah, he's
right up there.
Maybe number 2.
Him, Jimmy Graham, and Gronk were the top 3 when I first started.
Right up there.
10 years ago, Tony Gonzalez and Antonio Gates ruined fantasy football if they had a tight end slot because they were the only two that you could consistently do. And then Witten was your third, usually. Yeah. And there might be another one floating in there that I'm forgetting.
Todd Heap.
Todd Heap was always good.
Brent Selleck from Philadelphia.
I'll give Gronk the 3rd overall. Only reason being is because if anybody uses the Vince Lombardi trophy as a bat, you heard about that, right?
Yeah. That's great. Yeah,
he put a fucking dent. And you know what? That dent is permanent. They're not redoing it. So
it's part of the history now.
It is, and luckily they make a new one for every Super Bowl. But in the New England Trophy case, appropriately, there will be a dent in that thing because he was so critical in that game.
That is too funny.
Moving on from my corner. Thank y'all for coming.
Of course,
we're going to talk about the NFL draft. So we're reporting on the 25th of April. So the draft starts tonight.
Yeah, round 1 is tonight.
By the time it gets uploaded, the first round will be over. So this segment isn't meant to be necessarily a guess who's going to land where, who's going to land here. We can kind of talk about that a little bit because I want to talk about a few prospects in particular. But let's start with something simple. Nasto, what are the Panthers? What do you want the Panthers to do? And you know what? You can say the first round or the whole draft, whichever way you like.
Yeah, no, definitely. I know our biggest needs is definitely an edge rusher. We definitely need a defensive end.
And you and 20 other teams.
Yeah,
it's a good draft to have that.
It is a good draft.
Yeah, there's 20 good pros.
So I'm thinking we're picking 16. We have 7 overall picks. rumbling that on the news, like sports talk radio, is that we're going to go. It's up in the air. Either we're going to go DE or an offensive lineman. I mean, that's one important. Of the. Yeah, I know. I just because there's not a clear shot. So I guess if we draft an offensive tackle or an offensive lineman or a DE, I think the Panther fans, even myself, will be good with it. But don't be surprised in the second round if Will Greer
still around. He's a Charlotte kid too.
He's a Charlotte kid. We'll grab him because we don't know about Cam Newton's shoulder, and if it goes down again, that is 3 shoulder issues within 2 years.
Yeah,
throwing shoulder issues.
What didn't you say you rubbed dicks with somebody in the bathroom that knew something about his shoulder?
Yes.
Give up your source. I don't give a shit.
No, it was New Year's Eve. Yes, they said the shoulder is like fucked. Meaning that there's nothing holding it together. It's
almost similar to the Andrew Luck situation.
Yeah, but
because he had some pretty big problems with his shoulder because they were talking about retirement.
The problem with the Panthers is that we needed Cam because I don't know why, but we needed him. We rushed him. Andrew Luck also had I think his surgery was a little botched.
Yeah, they screwed it up.
They screwed it up a little bit, so he had to go to Europe or something. So,
yeah, he did. So, he went to Germany.
Yeah, he went to Germany.
He went to London and Germany.
Yeah.
Precision.
So what was he? A year and a half, right? Was Andrew Luck completely out for a year and a half, almost 2 full years?
Yeah.
Cam Newton with his shoulder injuries, what was he out? 6 weeks,
maybe.
On off season. So I think that's where the Panthers might have effed up. But I'll tell you this: if a good quarterback is still available in the second round, I see the Panthers.
There's going to be quarterbacks available.
Yeah, I think it'd be smart for him.
Yeah, and I won't mind that. I mean, I like Cam, okay, but if we can get a Will Greer that might maybe.
Well, at worst, you turn it into what the Patriots turned every backup quarterback they've had into, which is
100%. And Marty Herney also did say that in one of his press conferences. We have not, in the last 8 years, brought on quarterbacks to reproduce them or whatever, use them
to reproduce them.
Not reproduce them.
Making quarterbacks
develop them. I'm sorry.
It's Matt Moore and Garrett Gilbert fucking to try to create a better quarterback.
Trying to see if they can create something better than
to develop them, to maybe use them for trade bait.
Well, and
some sort of bait.
And what you said is interesting to me too, because do you get an offensive lineman to protect Cam? So I think that's a smart move. Or do you get someone that you need, like an edge rusher, because you played the Falcons twice a year, the Saints twice a year.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And what's probably still going to be a potent offense in the Buccaneers twice a year. So,
because Winston's still going to be trying to eat them W's.
Right. And
it's good.
And it's easier for an edge rusher to make a difference against the Bucs, but they also have an entirely new staff, right?
It's also easier for an edge rusher to make an immediate impact.
For sure. Unless
and unless
you're that bad at the offensive line, there's some instances where the offensive line picks when the Cowboys got Zeke were huge because it immediately helped out, and those guys
generational talents.
Yeah,
and even though Cam got his ass whooped this year with the offensive help, our defense. I mean, we couldn't even pressure. I mean, we had Julius Peppers, who was 50 years old on one end. We had somebody, no name really, on this other end. We need that power.
When Kuechly's constantly on his back heels because
means that
everything else has gone wrong.
Yeah.
Well, do you think that they put Bruce Irvin down in the defensive end area?
True.
It'd be smart, but he shouldn't. If he's going to be an edge rusher, though, I think he proved with Seattle that he wasn't that he wasn't a full-time pass rusher, right? That he's used in doses.
But I think we're switching to the 3-4 too this year.
Really?
I think so. That's why we got Bruce Irvin. Bruce Irvin was a 3-4.
Well, I think frankly, especially against the division, you're going to be running out of nickel anyways. So the 4 down, I'm not going to even say linemen, but those 4 that line up against the offensive line are going to be any mixture of
two defensive tackles and then two linebackers.
A second strong safety and a linebacker, like any variation of it. So
maybe 1 D tackle, 2 defensive ends, and a linebacker.
Or 3 D tackles and 1 linebacker. Yeah, there's a million ways to do it.
Yeah.
We'll see. But I'm definitely going to be up at least until the 16th pick. But I'll tell you, We'll see what happens. I mean, it's
He's
either
going to be up later when they trade down.
Yeah.
God, who knows? I'll tell you this.
God, that's annoying.
Will they trade down? Maybe.
I don't know. Maybe.
I forgot what pick I was really excited about. I think it was last year or the year before, but it was the 30th pick of... God, I can't remember what team it was. And I was like, I think this is where they're going to get whatever. And then they traded back, and it was like, well, this is fucking useless. And they didn't get another pick for another 10 or 15 until the next day, now that they're doing their thing.
Yeah.
Josh, I know there's not a pick for the first round for the Bears.
First 2 rounds, right?
Because you got Khalil Mack.
Correct.
Which is worth it. And if I was going to do the Cowboys, which I'm not,
You wouldn't have.
they don't have it either because they have Amari Cooper,
pick.
which was worth it.
Yeah.
What do you want to see the Bears do in the draft in particular?
I think we'll trade our 3rd round pick for a couple of 4s or 5s. Just to add extra picks.
Is that their first pick? Is
It's
the
the
3rd
third,
round?
yes.
That is wild.
Yeah, we traded up last year to get Anthony Miller, who ended up being a great signing. And if he can stay healthy this year, which he will, more likely stay healthy this year as opposed to last. It's a fucking great trade as well.
Who was Anthony Miller again?
Wide receiver.
Yeah,
That's right.
he was like their slot guy.
As soon as he got hurt, we lost options massive. As soon as he got hurt is when we started looking like shit offensively because he offered something. Even when he weren't getting the ball, whatever he was doing off the ball, I don't even know exactly what he was doing, but he was doing enough to make us win
I
games.
felt like he always opened up the middle whenever he was in there, and other than that, people were able to leverage the 2 receivers, which weren't that great, or they weren't game breakers. They pushed him out, and then that was it.
And Allen Robinson's best games were when Miller played.
Yep.
When he didn't play, A-Rob was left almost on its own because there was only him and Taylor Gabriel. It was that when Miller didn't play, it was when Cohen tended to go off out the back. So he was a great trade. I think we'll trade our 3rd back so we can get more picks in terms of volume. And I think we'll probably look at a running back at some point just to add competition. We'll look at a tight end at some point just to add depth. And we'll probably look for... After that, it's a very defensive draft anyway, from what I can gather.
Yeah.
So I think that they'll probably look at maybe an edge just to have one because it's a good draft for it. And I think they'll also look at bolstering that secondary because it's an aging secondary at this point. Other than Eddie Jackson, obviously.
Yeah, I think when you get to where the Bears are, which is a very critical point in the plateau where they're either going to fall off a la Jags or they're going to try to build on it. And having that depth, which on the offensive line, for instance, the Jags didn't have, completely dismantles you.
Yep.
The Bears aren't built the exact same way,
things.
but if the Bears' offensive line, for instance, didn't have the depth and it fell apart, Mitch and that staff isn't going to be able to do anything, no matter what the defense.
Yeah.
So I think
get
it's
to a
a
point.
depth draft, and I think they'll trade back the 3rd. I don't think we'll be doing anything with it. I think we'll trade it back to add.
Yeah. Having only 5 picks, I think they might be the only team that has less than 6. Yeah.
No, Seattle has
Seattle.
5.
But didn't Seattle just trade Frank Clark, so they might have another extra draft pick?
Yeah.
So
But
either way,
I am
it's so
certain
slim.
they trade that 3rd. There's no... Pace prefers 4th and 5th anyway, and all of his success stories tend to come from there. So I think they'll probably just gamble on getting it right again,
And the
whether
other
it does or not.
The other side of that might also be if you get quality guys that you can develop, that's great, but salaries are going to become due for some of those guys on defense too. So if you really want to keep them, having a 4-year down the road, 4-year linebacker that is your utility linebacker that you know can perform and do what you need to do or what your defense needs to do.
That you got in the 4th or 5th round.
That you got in the 4th or 5th
nothing
round.
to.
Yeah, you're paying 1.5 to on a second deal at the most. And it's just,
Exactly. And that's the kind of thing we have with Eddie Jackson too. When Eddie Jackson's contract runs out, if he continues in the trajectory he's going, he's going to probably be the highest paid safety in the league at that point if he continues in it. And he was a 5th round pick.
That's so crazy to me.
People didn't want to risk him.
Well, it was the injury, right?
Yeah, people didn't want to risk him.
And the flip side is, while it would be costly if he got hurt and his career's over because his ACL actually isn't there, it just evaporates like the tight end for the Bears. you still are only out on a rookie deal, a fifth rounder. As shitty as it is that Eddie Jackson doesn't get paid,
The ACL is just living somewhere with DeJuan Blair's ligaments.
yeah, it was that snapped, and Thanos didn't take his whole body, just took his ACL.
ligament. Yeah. But I mean, we did a good job in the off season too. Like, I'm happy with Clinton Dix. Him and Eddie Jackson have a rep together anyway. I guess they played together in Alabama.
Yeah,
they are super excited to be together, and a happy team is a winning team.
And not to I don't want to divert too much because I want to go right back to the Jags. But the interesting part about Alabama defensive players, in case I don't think you do know, but the way Alabama's defense is taught is the way that offenses are taught in the NFL, which is their playbook is as big or bigger, and they break down it's the most educated defense in college football, maybe even in all of football, period, because there's no way the NFL does as thorough of a job as Nick Saban does. There's some guys that probably do here and there, but there's everyone on the field that isn't a defensive lineman that comes out of Alabama is taught how to read every single play and the exact thing they need to be calling in that situation, which is usually why they're a top 10 defense at any given time.
To have both of them at the back.
Yeah, it's going to be good.
And Mack and Hicks at the front.
It also helps when you get the best recruits in the country.
It definitely. And
was Roquan Smith?
No, he was Georgia, but that defense at Alabama that way, that's Georgia's head coach now. So Georgia and Alabama are both now producing very smart head coaches.
He's an Alabama protege.
Yeah,
gotcha.
Saban protege.
I got a quick question. Who is the player on Chicago that blew out his knee? Like
Zach Miller.
Zach Miller.
He's done. Yeah.
He actually retired officially this year.
Yeah, because that knee was like already like, it was like laying on the 10-yard line.
Because he almost lost his leg, right? That was the story.
What happened? Did it like break and it cut like an artery or something? Accidentally?
Essentially, yeah. He bent it in such a way that everything inside that part of the leg ripped in half.
His leg basically got Mortal Kombat fatality. Like it got
and he just landed on it, right? Like no one hit him, right? He just jumped and landed down.
It was the way he went down. Yeah.
What's funny is that they actually transferred that leg to Alex Smith.
Poor Alex Smith, man.
So, Kyle, the Jacksonville Jaguars are at a weird spot.
Number 7, man.
It's a weird spot.
They're up there that high after a really, really bad year. Before you get into who they should or who you'd like them to look at or what they need to draft, do you have faith in the front office and Tom Coughlin to make the right picks?
No.
Is that because you see also how the Giants ended the last 4 years Coughlin was there and that they can't?
Kinda. The problem is that now we've got a very forward-thinking OC. DiFilippo, he would almost want to go a little bit more pass-heavy than run-heavy. Coughlin is very much, we want to bang it out on the ground. I could see some issues right there. I've got some ideas of what I want them to do, but honestly, I wouldn't mind if they went offensive lineman with the 7th pick, but, the one that they've been talking about is Jawan Taylor, who they'd be drafting a right tackle with the 7th pick, and he's got red flags because of his weight and his knee and his back. So that's a bit of a risky pick for me. I feel better about somebody like Jonah Williams from Alabama, because I don't think that there's much of a talent drop between pick 7 and pick 16, and Williams is supposed to fall somewhere in between there. Especially
in a draft that looks to be so edge rusher, and it's weird that your receivers, running backs, and offensive linemen in general are devalued as much as they used to be.
Yeah.
So it allows 16 to be the new 7. But to your point, too, right tackles aren't something you pick highly.
No.
Right tackles are left tackles that don't work out.
Yeah. And there's other needs. I mean, obviously that is a big need. We don't have a right tackle right now. We saw how decimated the line was last year. We could use depth, and I think that there's picks that you can make later on. I know that you said that we can't talk about this, but what I would love them to do is trade down to somebody like in Atlanta in the 14th spot. And
to which to trade back. The reason for that is, to be clear, for anybody that's listening, if you followed literally any team's blog, writers, whatever else, every team in the first round is at least the last place any team wants to be because everybody wants to fucking trade out of it, always. And only because, if nothing else, it's the smart play, right? Mm-hmm. But if everybody's trying to trade back, then no one trades back. Or it's just...
Well, see, I think that Atlanta would be a pretty good dance partner. Apparently, they're really, really interested in Ed Oliver.
Which, if he's there at 7, he's not going to be there much longer.
Exactly. So I think that we could swap first rounds, maybe get a third and a fourth as well in there. Use that for depth. Move back to the 14th spot, and then I could see us drafting somebody like a TJ Hawkinson or a Noah Fant at tight end, which we desperately need a tight end, especially with the DeFilippo offense. We saw it up in Philadelphia where Nick Foles used Zach Ertz all the fucking time.
Exclusively.
Yeah. We don't have a guy. Our number one tight end right now is Jeff Swain. He's had 26 catches in his career. Yeah. We need...
Yeah.
We need a guy, and then we can go into the second round maybe and take like a Chris Lindstrom out of Boston College to be an offensive lineman.
I can't believe you've ever wanted someone from Boston
He's
College.
A good lineman,
That's
man.
Disgusting. He is. Is there a spot in which you wouldn't want to trade further back? And here's a really dumb hypothetical that's not going to happen. The Texans are shopping Jadeveon Clowney, right? If the Texans said, "Hey, Jacksonville, here's Jadeveon Clowney. Here's our first-round pick at 23.
They're also looking to trade Clowney, by the way. They just said that.
That's what he just said,
exactly
too.
what I
Oh,
just
I'm
said.
sorry. I thought you were just talking about hypotheticals. Dodoy.
So if they move back to 23, they'll get obviously some more picks in there.
I don't think that the Texans would.
Is there a spot besides the Texans point? I was just making an example.
That makes it a little bit more interesting if you're going to give us Clowney too. Put him as an edge rusher because that's kind of another position of need with Calais Campbell getting a little bit older.
Right.
Needing to put somebody on the other side of Yannick Ngakoue.
And someone that can stand up and actually cover a little bit.
Yeah.
And make it interesting. But I guess the question would mostly be, is there a spot, if it's a fair value trade, that you wouldn't want to go past?
I really don't want to get out of the top 15. I really don't, because we do have glaring needs where, getting an elite player would be wonderful.
But if you
You've still got to get an elite player in the top 15.
Right, and you got to Well, and you got to hope that if you trade back, that second round pick you also picked up, or the third round ends up being literally anything.
Coming good.
That's true. That's true. I mean, I really don't want to drop out of the top 15.
I think it's understandable.
And I think you can get value by trading back down a couple of things as well.
Yeah, and I think that's the best play is to drop down to like a 13 or 14 or 15 and try to add a couple picks, maybe a second and a fifth, or maybe a third and a fourth, and try to add some depth that way because we do need depth. We desperately need depth. Mm-hmm. And I don't think they're going to do anything receiver-wise. I think that they're kind of set with their receivers between Marquise Lee coming back and Keelan Cole and Dede Westbrook, and we picked up Chris Conley. And
you got some solid players. You got a good quarterback, too.
You have the potential to have a fucking sick offense.
Right.
Especially
if it works out.
We need a tight end. We need a tight end to do it. And
if your offensive coordinator is given free reign, too, and he's a bright mind like everybody thinks he is, the value doesn't have to be high on players to get there. And the retiring Jerry Maclin was literally going to be the only thing I was going to say about him is, wow, how a system can make a player.
Yeah.
I think, speaking of kind of building depth, I wanted to cover, before a couple players I wanted to go over in the draft, I wanted to talk about a little bit of the AAF teams.
Okay.
Or rather, the AAF players. Well, the Orlando Apollos, the reigning AAF champions.
No, on the draft. You didn't pick your players.
I don't have a team, pal.
I thought you liked the Cowboys.
Not really. I mean, like, if Jerry Jones dies, if we reevaluate once Jerry Jones dies, then...
How about we do this real quick before we
It's like Blackpool for me.
How about we do this real quick? Our one only. What the fuck you think Arizona Cardinals is going to do? You really think they're going to?
I'm pretty excited to see whether.
But you still got friggin' Rosen,
They're going to trade him, and they're going to get another
You think?
first-round pick out of him because he's still got a ton of value.
There was a really
A
good
first rounder for him, you think?
He's better than some of the other quarterbacks.
Dude, I think he's a
in the
good
first round.
quarterback. I think the stupid.
I think Josh
stupid-
Rosen might be the best quarterback in this draft overall.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Someone else said something about that too.
I think there's a really interesting flow chart, which is like you don't pick Kyler Murray and let's say Rosen isn't good, you're fucked, right? If you pick him and Rosen isn't good,
I saw that.
you're not fucked. If
I don't
Rosen's
think-
good, then cool, you've now got two good quarterbacks.
And
Kyler
Murray's
also
good.
Murray's great. The
Rosen is good, man. Do you? I don't know.
the question is, if you had to drive to work and you drove in your nice Toyota 4Runner, right, that's dependable, it's got kind of spare gas mileage, but it's okay, you're driving, or if you had to drive to work in one of those cars that breaks the land speed record, you're going to get to work faster, but there's also the chance that it really fucking blows up. Which one do you choose? You choose probably the Toyota, right? So I think a lot of people see Kyler as that very boomer bust guy.
I still kind of think of Rosen a little bit like that just because Rosen didn't have a great year last year, but neither did Jared Goff.
Yeah.
I think that Rosen's way more of the traditional quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah, but anybody you put on the Arizona Cardinals last year just
Well, those lines are getting blurred. The traditional quarterback thing is getting blurred across the league. I think Rosen is both quarterbacks can play in any kind of offenses you give them, I think. The only difference being that because Rosen's not a slob athletically. He can still go, but it's like, he's not Aaron Rodgers. He's not Tom Brady. He's somewhere healthy in between. Maybe Romo when he's running for his life.
I think the Giants should trade their 17th pick.
They're only asking for a
Rosen.
second now for Rosen.
Oh, then
Maybe
the Panthers will trade their second for Rosen.
Oh, you're pie in the sky right now.
That is pie in the sky. But I think that
I'll take
there's...
that.
I mean,
I'm
there's...
sure you would. I don't think you're laughing.
Yeah, there's no way.
Yeah, no.
I don't think the Panthers are smart enough. So some of the AAF players that I highlighted here that I thought were interesting, that could provide depth. Some of them might never even make the roster, but two of them I'm going to pair together. Luis Perez and John Wolford, right? So Luis Perez was a guy that everybody said was hidden on the practice squad for the Rams. But when he started playing really well for the Birmingham Iron, well, he's with the Eagles now. That matches the system. I think he's still a pretty average quarterback. But the Rams, if that's what the case was, supplemented it with John Wolford from the Hot Shots. And Wolford is a baller, and I think that's awesome for the Rams, even though he'll probably never see the field.
No, he's not even going to be their backup.
He'll be the third string.
Yeah, behind Bortles.
Is Bortles there now?
Bortles signed a 1-year contract.
There's no way that Wolford doesn't get over Bortles. Right?
Bortles is going to be your number 2 behind Goff.
Yeah.
Hope Goff gets hurt, so they have
Wait,
to go through
Blake Bortles is not on Jacksonville?
No,
IOB ends up
Where
rolling
the hell
up
have I
against us.
been, man? Was this when I was traveling somewhere?
Well, I guess when you're off the
Where is he
podcast,
at
you just
now?
don't listen to anything.
he's with the Rams. Signed a 1-year, $1 million deal.
Yeah, why not?
What a steal. For tight end. Rashad Ross, the receiver for the Hot Shots that fucking balled out, is with the Panthers, which is, I think, a great pick because it's an immediate slot threat, and immediate dude you can pair with McCaffrey in an offense, whether it be with the jet screens.
I don't know who the Panthers' number 1 receiver is going to be this year.
I don't think they have one, do they?
No, I think it's going to be DJ Moore. They're going to make DJ. DJ Moore has the potential to be number 1.
DJ Moore is the heir apparent so far, but he's still got to prove it.
Sam was going to be tight. We have I think our wide receiver clause.
The Memphis Express's DeMarcus Gates, who balled out at linebackers with the Redskins, which I think is a great signing. The reigning champion, Garrett Gilbert, is the backup for the Browns, which is something. It's a bummer that he's got to sit behind Baker because
the Bake Show. I need to get
maybe Gilbert can show him a thing or
Mayfield
two about.
Secret Santa.
Keith Reeser, who was the cornerback for the Apollos that had like 3 pick sixes, was like on fire. He's back with the Chiefs. They had originally gotten him off that practice squad, but the Chiefs have bolstered their entire defense this offseason, and they're probably going to be Frank Clark and what's his face after getting rid of D Ford. They got another guy too. I can't remember the name. Charles Johnson, the Apollos receivers with the Eagles. Of course, he'll probably do great there. Carter Schultz, the Salt Lake Stallions, little bitty white defensive end, got signed by the Vikings, which is the most fitting shit for the Vikings ever, is white defensive ends. So he'll probably go on to have a great year.
He'll be Chris.
Kenneth Farrow went to the Dolphins. The Dolphins signed a shit ton of players, which shows just how big.
The shit show that's in Miami.
The fact that they signed an offensive lineman from the AAF is just telling it all.
Yes, it is.
But they brought J-Ron Elliott, who is the Commanders' defensive end, who was really good. And I think J-Ron Elliott was the guy that beheaded, Berkovici. And then Kenneth Farrow from the Commanders, the running back, went to the Dolphins. Greg Ward, receiver, went to the Eagles. That's awesome. And the greatest quarterback probably in the AAF, Logan Woodside, went to the Titans, which is just like a chef kiss fingers for match on play style behind Mariota. It's going to be a perfect
hope
fit.
He fails miserably.
Because you're a Jags fan. Then.
Yes, I don't want the Titans to do anything.
So, we talked a little bit about the first overall pick. I only want to go a couple more minutes, and then we're going to kick Nasta out. You know what? I'll let y'all actually choose here. Running backs are devalued. We can talk running back class if you want. The overall quarterback class we can talk if you want, or the receiver class. What are y'all more interested in? Because I'm only going to do one of them. Oh, fuck me. I just closed all my goddamn tabs. While y'all are deciding. Take your time.
I don't care.
I don't give a shit.
Well,
is it this class or just in general?
This class.
This class.
I don't. I just know about the shit. I don't know.
Let's talk quarterbacks, I guess.
Okay, let's talk quarterbacks. So, we talked about Kyler Murray, right? Mm-hmm. I'm just going to list off the next 10 or so that I think are consensus best quarterbacks available that are on the board.
Are you doing it in order after Kyler Murray? Or you just throwing them?
Yeah, I'm going to put it in. I'm going to put it in order, but I'm also going to leave the discussion not on a point by point. We'll kind of figure it out as we go through. So Dwayne Haskins from Ohio State, Drew Lock from Missouri, Will Grier from West Virginia, Daniel Jones from Duke, Jordan Ta'amu from Mississippi or Ole Miss, Brett Ripien from Boise State, Tyree Jackson from Buffalo, Gardner Minshew from Washington State, Jarrett Stidham from Auburn, and we'll just round it out with Ryan Finley from North Carolina State. Daniel Jones is who I really kind of wanted to talk about because
from Duke, yeah.
Because there's not a more bang average. It happens every fucking year where a quarterback gets overhyped.
Yeah.
But usually it's because he's done something that makes it overhyped, right? Like you could agree that maybe Kyler's overhyped because of how fast he is or the media attention from the baseball thing. But Daniel Jones is
he's a dude.
He's the most boring quarterback of all time, which makes me think he's either going to end up being Tom Brady or he's going to end up being insert Chad Pennington, but like not good. Where Chad Pennington was good.
He's going to be a Rick Meyer.
Yeah, I just
Brian Leftwich. Byron Leftwich.
Right, 4 times the charm.
Hey, I was going to get it eventually.
I think he's probably. I think I saw a comparison to him that he's Matt Castle, which is both his good and bad seasons. But he's steady, which there's power in that for a backup. But to draft him in the first round is not to draft a backup.
I would be extremely wary of him as a pick.
Dwayne Haskins, I think it's
go to the Giants.
Going to be a baller if he gets to a team that can protect him. Because if he's got, I think any quarterback, if they get protection, obviously it's a benefit. But there's some guys like Garrett Gilbert, for instance, that are better when they roll out or when the system's designed for them to move. Haskins would have to go to the right system, and I don't know how many of those exist that would fit that mold.
Something that I saw that is fairly intriguing to me would be not him going to the Giants, because the Giants have kind of cooled on him.
They floated both him and there was another player out there, and I think they're only making that... Oh, Daniel Jones.
Daniel Jones, yeah.
I've seen them try to go edge rusher and get maybe Rashawn Gary in a couple of my mock drafts. But what I did see that was intriguing to me was Haskins going number 10 to Denver. Going behind Joe Flacco for a year, getting some kind of grooming underneath that, and having... Sutton to be his number 1 receiver going forward.
In the interest of I'm wanting most of these players to succeed, and I don't like him because he went to Ohio State, but that's besides the point. Denver is the best sounding fit for him in general, and it at least meets that dumb John Elway criteria, which is your stand-up tall quarterback that can chuck it long.
Do you think, Kyle, you might be on something, Giants go for edge rusher, because next year, they tanked again this year. You get fucking the kid from Clemson, maybe, or...
He's not going to be eligible.
He's not eligible.
He's a freshman.
He's going to be a sophomore.
You have to be 3 years out.
That's right. Damn.
Yeah.
Well, it's like for 2 more years.
But either way, he'll
With Tua.
Tua Tagovailoa,
but...
or Tuna, as you said.
Yeah, Tuna.
His name is Tuna. I think he sucks, actually.
Or Justin Herbert, or any number of quarterbacks that are coming.
Oh, Herbert from Oregon?
Yeah, he'll be coming out next year.
People are high on Will Greer. I think that's understandable. I think he's good. I think
I've heard arm strength.
arm strength's there, and
I've heard arm strength is a worry. Right
with Will Greer, you think?
Yeah, I've heard that.
Watching him, I have never had that inclination, and I don't know if it's because the system makes it think.
Take me home, country roads, baby.
West Virginia. Fuck West Virginia.
I think his arm strength is the least of my concern for Will Greer. His health would be it for me.
Everything that I've seen is that he tends to float the long balls, which could be an issue. I'm high on Will Greer, but...
What offense is he in, though? That's another... I keep bringing it back, but there's the other flip side, which is the arm strength of Tyree Jackson, who has it, and he's just an all-around athlete. He's Antonio Gates playing quarterback.
Mm-hmm. I worry,
but I don't know
about
if he can make
him turning into Paxton Lynch.
Yeah, I just don't think. I think he's a bigger athletic Johnny Manziel. I don't think he can make the read or the third read.
You had a read.
Exactly. And then Brett Ripien, I think, is a sleeper. I think he's going to actually end up being really good. Hopefully he ends up on the right team.
I'll tell you, this might be one of the first drafts that's going to be pretty... Because you don't know your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 picks this year.
No.
Normally you draft, you know who's a lock in number 1, you know who's a lock in number 2, and maybe number 3.
I think that...
I don't know. I don't know who
I think that
are.
2 might have the biggest lock, and that's Nicky Bosa. Going to San Francisco.
And then, what do you think the kid from Kentucky is going to be going? Jets?
God, who knows?
No, I could see him going Oakland. I could see him
going too high for the Raiders and them trying to replace an edge rusher. I think part of the reason that there's that much flux is what college is putting out, which is an incredible amount of defensive linemen.
Yes.
And I think the NFL game is changing priorities for everybody. Obviously, people get too high on quarterbacks because that is obviously the most important position for an offense. But running backs, there's 5 teams in the league that value them way more than they should. Mm-hmm. And there's 5 teams that value them way less than they probably should. And then there's everyone else in the middle that's kind of just figuring it out.
Mm-hmm. Now, I have seen mocks where Jacksonville in the 3rd round takes Washington out of Memphis.
The running back?
For depth. And then possibly in the 4th or 5th going after a quarterback and going after either Gardner Minshew or Jared Stidham.
Are you talking about Darrell Henderson?
Henderson.
Do you think Henderson's going to be there at 3?
3rd round? Might be. Or maybe take him in the 2nd.
I really don't like the running back class now that I look at it.
There's not a lot, man.
There's not, because you have Benny Snell, who I think is really good, but I also think he's beat up. All right, I think that's going to... I guess we'll check back. And the next episode, we'll talk a little bit about...
The picks.
The hauls.
We'll talk about the hauls, how we did on the draft, what interesting storylines, because it's also going to be post-Premier League, and we're going to kind of talk about... Josh is going to do a 10-minute in memoriam for the...
He's going to come and dressed up.
Josh
is going to dress up that day.
He's going to be dressing up in an all-black suit for their funeral.
For Brighton's funeral.
I finally know we will be recording on the Thursday before the finale.
Oh, so you'll be a giant ball of nerves.
Or there is no nerves to have. We play Manchester City away at home.
So you'll know what your fate is.
If we haven't dealt with it, we're already fucked.
God, it's going to be tough.
Well, before I leave, thanks for adding me for the first segment. But one thing I like to say is, how about those Carolina Hurricanes in hockey beating? Even though I'm a New York Ranger fan, but it is nice to see a local North Carolina pro team.
That was run by a guy that destroyed the AAF.
Trebuchet.
He knew what he was doing. He destroyed the Capitals and the AAF.
And I have to say, they're playing the Islanders next series, which I hate the Islanders because I grew up a Ranger fan.
Yeah,
so that's going to be interesting.
It's going to be crazy when it's the Hurricanes and Stars in the Stanley Cup.
Yo, I got the Stars, man. I like the Stars. All right, you guys.
All right, now have a good one. Say goodbye to the listeners.
Goodbye, listeners. Have fun talking about wrestling. No, there's nothing wrong with that. John Cena, baby. Or The Rock.
Or The Rock.
All right, you guys.
Later,
Later.
Peace.
Hi, my name is Joshua Tracy.
And I am Corwin Heller.
And we are the hosts of a statistics and sports podcast called Juicing the Numbers.
We cover the NFL, college football, MLB, and the NHL with anything that we like to talk about in between.
If you like sports and the numbers behind it, come check out our show, Juicing the Numbers, on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, wherever you find podcasts. Hit us up on Twitter at JuicingPod.
Now that NASA's gone.
I knew he was going to slam that door.
You did. Okay. So let's round this out with a superstar shakeup discussion. I also wanted to talk about the general state of WWE because I think y'all have some hot takes on it. For me, the shakeup looked like a more appealing conversation before it happened.
Yeah,
Yep,
I'll agree with that.
definitely.
I think we have the IC belts and the U.S. Championship switching.
I thought that was pretty par for the course. I thought that was going to happen.
Right? Yeah.
I thought it was smart getting Finn over to the more wrestling heavy show.
Yep.
And also the one that's going to be featured on Fox. He's a very marketable person to go around, so I think that helps out. I think he's going to eventually be in the main event picture.
I think he's got to be. My other thing is that it seems like all the rumors coming out are that Fox are going to get 3 hours of SmackDown. So how much does that remain wrestling based?
Yeah.
Or they go the same route as Raw and it's just 2 Raws on a different night.
Probably.
Who knows? But I agree for now it was a great move. From now until the Fox move.
We had 3 gimmick changes. We had Bobby Roode going to Raw
To
and
Robert
becoming
Roode.
Robert Roode with a shitty mustache.
Oh, I love it.
Me too.
I like
He looks like Rick Rude.
It's
and I thought that's what they were going for.
Yeah.
That's what I figured, and I'm sure as it evolves, that's what it's going to end up becoming.
That's going to be great.
But I'm glad to see him heel again because he does his best work that way.
Yes. He's been a face for so damn long, and I don't know why. He was so good as a heel in NXT.
We also had, and we don't know what show yet, but we had a gimmick change in Bray Wyatt, who's now the Firefly Funhouse Bray Wyatt.
Who's Mr. Rogers.
Mr. Rogers, I've seen people call it child molester Bray Wyatt, Pee-wee Bray Wyatt, or Pee-wee Wyatt. I called it recovering alcoholic, divorced dad who gets his kids on the weekends, Bray Wyatt.
You did.
Trying to convince everybody that he's a changed man.
Yeah, no, listen, I let him here, stay till Monday. I'll take him to school. Everything's cool.
And I was saying to you guys, and I know you never watched it or had the displeasure of watching it, but anybody who ever listens to this show, if you've ever watched that YouTube show, Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared, it's literally WWE's version of that weird shit. And he's great. I'm loving it.
I'm pretty sure I've never seen that YouTube series, but I've seen Adult Swim used to have some show that did something similar to that before, and it's incredibly unsettling.
Yeah, you are.
It's only because the child's voices they're also in the background. Maybe they're never on screen. It's just fucking weird, and I'm already kind of creeped out by not kind of creeped out. I'm fucking horrified of dolls and puppets and shit. Like that's not my speed. So like.
So this is the scariest that Bray Wyatt's ever been for you.
Honest to God, yeah. Well, and like it's not so much the Mercy the Vulture, but that fucking little witch, man. Dolls with eyes that move, I'm out on.
What the fuck is her name? Penelope or something?
No, it's Penny. After no, not Penny. I'm sorry. It's Abby, the witch, because it's Sister Abigail.
Sister Abigail. Okay.
I'm loving it anyway.
I think it's going to be awesome.
Well, Mercy the
If they do it
Vulture,
right,
if you followed his Twitter account, he's deleted all his tweets except for a bunch of ones that are written like doctor's rehab in like an asylum where he was supposedly being rehabbed, and the hospital was Mercy.
Well, I've also so Waylon Mercy was the inspiration apparently too. I've seen that
for Bray Wyatt. Yeah,
for the gimmick.
The whole thing's fucking great.
I think it's great too, and I mentioned it to both of y'all that I think it's going to be a variation of Doink, where it's going to be on the face it's one thing, and really fucked up on the other. Because if you notice the help or the hurt,
it's heel, wasn't it?
Heel, and he listens to the hurt
before doing the
chainsaw and shit. So I think that's going to be really interesting.
They might be going full schizophrenic with him, which is going to be fun. That's a gimmick that we haven't seen
yet. It's going to
yet.
wind up the sensitive types.
It's
taking the piss out of a mental illness.
A lot of people were upset by it because the original Bray Wyatt character was so good, but Taker did pretty good with the biker gimmick. That was a total shift from being an Undertaker,
from being dead.
So I think it's going to be good for him. Some of the other, we had some 205 call-ups, which I thought were exciting. Buddy Murphy, Cedric Alexander.
More excited for Buddy Murphy in that role. He's better on the mic.
He's a more compelling character.
Yeah.
205 need to do something to bolster their ranks, losing those two as well.
I think the intention is NXT is going to be filling it at some point because they have like Humberto Carrillo, which I don't know if you've had a chance to watch him, but he comes from a luchador family, like not Ultimate. It might be Ultimate Ninja is the lineage or whatever, as one is. With
the dude that they just brought in to NXT
is his cousin or brother too. It's from that same Ultimo Ninja family. He's really talented. I don't know if I've never heard him talk.
Kashido or something. Kashida.
No. I was talking about someone else.
Okay.
So Humberto Carrillo's brother also got signed by WWE this week, but Kushida in NXT is fucking aces. And if they want eyes on 205 Live, that'd be a good way to do it. But it'd also be a major waste of Kushida. I'd feel bad. Who do you want to talk about that moved before we jump into the state of WWE? Because
you got the list.
Yeah, I do. I'll just run it down. So SmackDown got Roman Reigns, Finn Balor, Elias, Bayley, Ember Moon, Kairi Sane, Lars Sullivan, Liv Morgan, the aforementioned Buddy Murphy, Chad Gable, Apollo Crews, Snore, Mickey James, and then Heavy Machinery. And then the third gimmick I forgot, Raw received the Viking Experience, now the Viking Raiders.
Well, I'd also heard that they were penned as the Viking Warriors today.
Yeah,
yes, they were.
So
I think whoever's in charge of social media just doesn't understand what the hell. Like they already just like, sounds right.
The Viking Experience was the experience of them trying to figure out a name.
Yeah. Someone hit submit before they went back and edited Experience. And we can talk about that on the State of WWE thing if you want. Raw got AJ Styles, The Miz, Ricochet. They did get... I'll go cover that. Rey Mysterio, the Uso Brothers, Naomi, EC3, Lacey Evans, Eric Young, the aforementioned Cedric Alexander. And originally Raw also got Andrade and Aleister Black with Zelina Vega. Now those three are back on SmackDown.
Because Andrade is with Charlotte, but also they wanted to have somebody to represent the Hispanic community going into Fox.
Yeah,
because from what I'd heard is they were planning on airing it on that Fox.
Yes,
Deporte or whatever.
So, and because they did that,
Fox Deportes.
Zelina Vega comes with him. Aleister Black is married to Zelina Vega, so they wanted to keep Aleister and
married couple.
Well, yeah, and I think that so. Charlotte nixed they were engaged rumors because they've only been together for a few months.
Yeah, they're just
But
together.
I think people made the wrong assumption because what it was Fox wanted Andrade, and you can't get Andrade without Zelina, and you can't have Zelina without Aleister, and I think that's how it works.
Exactly.
This will happen. This will happen to Charlotte.
I think it's more of a ish moment for them because they try and keep people who are couples who are not married away from each other.
Yeah.
So I think they're bummed out that they actually ended up having Andrade and Charlotte on the same show because I think that's probably why they moved him in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
I don't doubt it, honestly.
I've been reading online just like the absolute amount of like when people would list all the couples and how they would go and shoot. Like they split couples that ain't married. If you ain't married, you ain't being in the same show.
They were talking about it.
Isn't that why Rusev and sorry for interrupting, but Rusev and what's her face interrupted.
They got married.
Married because they were about to split them, and they go and they just eloped and got married.
Well,
so
they were split.
Rusev and Lana?
Yeah, Lana was with Dolph Ziggler at that
Yes.
point, and
storyline.
and Rusev was with
Summer Rae.
Summer Rae.
But they were.
And it was-
I'm sure that was a precursor to getting them move shows. I'm
yeah,
sure that would.
and then all of a sudden it came out on TMZ that Lana and Rusev got married. So
didn't they
completely
announce it on
destroyed
Instagram?
Yeah, and it
pure
destroyed
fucking
the
over.
destroyed the entire storyline, which was good because it was a shit storyline.
What about Dog Ziggler and him throwing a fish though? That was actually pretty good. He
I
got
don't even remember it.
Dog Ziggler. He got Summer Rae. Dog Ziggler.
That's
little puppy.
Stupid. The Miz was moved just to keep him on USA to
The
promote
Miz and Mrs.
the show. Yeah. Reigns was obviously moved over to be the new number one. How long do you think it takes for him to become the champion?
Probably around SummerSlam.
I think
Just
that
in time
Kofi
for
drops
us.
it to Kevin Owens.
I don't think he does. I think he drops it to Reigns.
You think it'll go face and have?
I think they'll try and go face, but everyone's going to boo the shit out of Roman Reigns.
Yeah.
See, I don't think they make that mistake. I think they probably have Kofi get fucked by something, but they'll still be upset by Roman. I think what probably happens, it's more likely, is Finn becomes the champion before Roman does. And I think Lars beats Finn. I think Roman destroys the monster Lars and goes IC before he goes main. I think they're going to take their
Potentially that too.
Maybe, because Lars is going to be vanquished by Roman at some point.
One of the biggest moves I was happy about was AJ Styles moving to Raw. Because to me, like, he was so just done. Like, his matches were half-assed. He had told every story there was to tell. Like, he just...
There's nothing left for him to do.
He should be a main event championship caliber dude, and he hadn't been for too long because he just had nothing to do, like you said.
That's the same reason I was happy.
Wealth of shit to do.
The same reason I was happy about Roman switching. There's new matchups.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And they're already into AJ Seth.
The only problem I have with Roman moving is I'm so happy that the New Day are holding the belt, and now I know it's on a very short time limit. Because I was hoping that they were going to even get to the point of Freebird in the fucker and just go full on. But we know it ain't going to happen now. Because it's on too much of a time limit.
And with Fox getting... I think that, you know what? Roman might win the title the first night that it's on Fox.
That is also very possible.
Could be, but I think you might also be undervaluing what Fox might see in having an African-American champion.
I think they are also of the argument that New Day are going to sell the shit out of merch regardless, so they're safe.
And
they're
and
almost too good. Like, they're too safe in a role that they're in to be considered a champion.
they don't have a show yet, and they've already determined the fate of Andrade and Aleister Black. Aleister Black by proxy, but determined Andrade. I think if there's a single sign that Roman is going to be a bad move for business, as it were, Fox is going to say something. Whether it's Kofi or someone else.
They may even put it on Andrade.
Yeah.
But I don't think
He
that
can
they're
do
going
it.
to.
He can do it more than anything.
I don't think they're going to see Roman Reigns as being a bad idea. It's just the way that they have to do it because he's as over as he's ever been right now.
Yep.
He's fighting with Vince McMahon.
Yep.
What you have to do is that you can't have him beat Kofi. You have to get the belt off of Kofi at that point and have. It's a perfect storm with Kevin Owens being the shit heel at this point and just
taking
turning
it off
on
him so quick will be.
Maybe you have him feud for a couple months, or maybe do you know what you do? You have Roman win the Money in the Bank.
He ain't. If he cashes in on Kofi though.
No, he doesn't. Maybe Kevin
cashes
Owens wins it maybe at SummerSlam, and then the Fox deal starts in like October, right?
October, yeah.
So maybe Owens holds it for that time, and they have some sort of barn burner.
I think your line of thinking is right, but I think that it's probably the more likely scenario is heel. We're not even sure SmackDown. I don't know if they're going to each have their own match, with both being split and now on different brands. But if a SmackDown person wins, who won the last Money in the Bank?
Who did win the last one? Braun.
Corbin? Was it Braun?
It was Braun.
So Braun with Raw. So SmackDown stands to win.
Yeah, remember he cashed it in on Brock. Told Brock he was going to...
Oh, yeah, and he planned the match. It wasn't like a run or anything. And then he got F5. So if Raw won, then SmackDown stands to win. I think it'd be heel at some point cashing in, taking it off Kofi, and then being the transition for Roman.
Okay.
I think that's probably the more likely.
Sure.
That's at least the if I'm thinking how WWE seems to think, but they've also been pretty unpredictable the last 4 months.
That's true. I mean, Kofi's a champion.
Daniel Bryan's not been around, so who's
He's
to
hurt
say
again.
he's not? But he might also be relatively kind of hurt and saving up for Money in the Bank.
Well, yeah,
Possible.
I guess all the things coming out is that Brian's hurt,
Yeah,
but we just don't know to what extent.
it's all those kicks to the head from Kofi. He was stomping the shit out of him. I think, I think Roman gets it. I don't know if it's even this year. I think there's.
I would
It
not
just depends on how hot Kofi stays.
I would not be surprised if it coincides with them that first show on Fox to make a big statement. You know, there's going to be a championship match on that first one on Fox just to make a huge splash. I could totally see it happening at that point.
Probably. Who knows?
Yeah,
But see,
theorizing.
I think it's definitely just not even fantasy booking, like you said, theorizing. I think also it'd be weird to have a bunch of new viewers to Fox that have no idea why a match is going on to see a title change. I think maybe a big feud starts on that first show. But it's really hard to answer for something that we've never really seen before, right? Like
This is
someone as powerful,
territory.
because they've been on different networks before, but never any network as powerful as Fox.
Yeah,
Nor have they had two shows on separate networks
that are owned by two different.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, because USA is owned by NBC, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so
Because we had that in sci-fi, and they're all in the same family. But then when you get to two totally different,
major brands owning.
they have the potential to really make things like Survivor Series from 2020 onwards fucking fire though.
Yeah, because hopefully it just isolates. I'm just hoping it's kind of a shame, but I hope they isolate. But I also want to see every other matchup that we're not going to get, so it's like a really weird spot to be.
But that's where you start to get really excited about shakeups in the future.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, truly. And I'm wondering how they're going to present those shakeups. Because
who knows?
From now on, it's going to be
They've
weird.
done so many different ways in the last 15 years.
So let's talk. The last thing we'll discuss is the general state of WWE. Only because I know we all watched Mania, and then we were all let down, kind of, by the Raw and SmackDown after because it was obvious what they were doing.
They weren't going to play to the smarts.
Right, they weren't going to play to the smarts, and also they were just trying to have a fun show because isolated, it was a fun show. It just didn't have any repercussions of anything.
Yeah, it was just a good Raw.
It didn't feel like a
Raw
first episode of a new season.
Right, exactly.
Not at all.
And that was the week after. And they're doing so many things that I really like or that they've never done. Something like Sami Zayn getting so incredibly meta with his heel work.
So great.
And it's been phenomenal.
It is.
The whole him going out there and they're playing the music for him in Montreal and he's just having a blast.
And they just keep hitting it 4 times in a row, and then he just takes the biggest shit all over all of them.
Yeah.
And then some of the same stuff that's still enjoyable, like KO being friendly and nice, and then turning on Kofi this week. And then Bray Wyatt and the gimmick change and kind of doing something weird, and Bobby Roode switching it up. And
Becky
I like
two belts.
Becky
two belts on one to pay-per-view.
which is going to be... She's going to
It's a great nickname, too.
I'm
Becky Two
just so
Belts.
sick of Charlotte Flair. Charlotte Flair is now the
Roman
John
Reigns.
Cena of this generation. No, because Roman Reigns, at least when he had losses, they were acknowledged. Charlotte is getting to the point where she can have 5 matches with someone, and if she loses the first 4, none of them count. But if she wins the 5th, the feud's over and she's won it.
Yeah.
Roman Reigns never had that,
Okay.
because he would have people come out and call him out for it. Cena would have it.
I'd like to see...
She is the Cena of this.
She's almost the reverse Ric Flair. Because back in the territory days, and when he made his nut, in a feud he'd lose. I'm sorry. He'd win, and then get his upcomings, whatever the
Comeuppance.
Comeuppance. Jesus.
Upcomings.
Upcomings.
Jesus Christ.
That's what happens when I finish in my wife. That's gonna be... No one's gonna listen this far. But she's the opposite, like you said, right? She lose, and wins a big
And
one.
then gets the rubber, even though it's
As
even
if she's a
it's not that big.
face. is if she's a face, but she's obviously
Because they wanted her to be a face in the first place.
Yeah.
E.g. Cena.
But then they do stuff like that, or they do like the Viking thing, right? They fuck War Raiders with Eric and Ivar, which are just indecipherable names.
Why can't you just be Hanson and Rowe, which were cool ass names?
And not like totally unlike a Viking name, really. I mean, I guess Eric with the K and Ivar are more Viking-like, but if we're going for like era-specific accuracy, they're probably not.
They've turned into the Highlanders. Remember the Highlanders?
If they ran a Highlander gimmick, I'd be okay with it because there can only be one, and that's like
remember the tag team in 05, 06, the Highlanders?
No,
we created them on WWE 2K, WWE SmackDown versus Raw 2006.
Everything is a blur.
It was like these two dudes.
We also created the Spirit Squad.
We did do that, but they were
the entire.
They were legit, like. They were supposed to be Scottish. They weren't Scottish, but they were supposed to be, and they spoke in really bad Scottish accents. And there's like Rory and Robbie McAllister, I think.
God, that's the most generic ass thing. Oh my God, I do remember them.
Yeah. This is what they've turned the War Raiders into.
They look eerily similar.
Honestly. They do.
Except the War Raiders are way better workers. Way better workers.
Well, clearly, because that they ain't here anymore.
Yeah.
It's probably the template we used.
The other thing that I'm not totally happy that they did is that it feels like they kind of destroyed the Raw women's division.
I'm okay with it if it means that they're gonna either have it all on on SmackDown, or if they're going to push those tag belts to be SmackDown specific, which is a bummer for NXT, because I liked that they.
I don't think they will. I don't think they're pushing that.
I think there's probably a lot of room for Raw to get new talent now. Is the flip side of it?
Yeah, but I mean, where's the talent going to come from? Because right now, all the big players are on.
I mean, I'll tell you where it comes from.
NXT?
Becky beats Lacey. Becky beats Charlotte. SmackDown woman wins the Money in the Bank, cashes in on dead Becky, wins the title. Becky only has one belt. It's Raw. She's the face of Raw.
Okay.
It makes a lot of sense. And also, you still have Ronda potentially coming back at any point.
You have Lacey now on there.
You have Lacey on there, and you have the lackeys for Ronda that will still probably go there because they're going to be paired with her on the same show, almost certainly.
Absolutely.
And then anybody else from NXT, I think it's probably going to get called up on the Raw side. And it may very well be that the Iconics are on Raw, but since they're
Sasha Banks, if she can get her head back in the game.
Yeah.
Well, see, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is that right now there's no Ronda, there's no Sasha, there's.
Well, that's bang on. There's no Ronda, there's no Sasha, there's no Alexa, there's no Nia.
So right now you're running.
God, that's wild.
You're running Mickie James.
No, Mickie James is on. Oh yeah, she is. Yeah.
No, Mickie went to SmackDown.
Oh, okay. So Alicia Fox.
Yep, she wrestled this week.
Yeah.
Exactly why.
Lacey Evans is the only person really. I can't think. Tamina.
Ember Moon.
Ember Moon's on SmackDown.
I'm sorry. I'm switching. Mickey's on SmackDown. I'm tripping. Sorry.
So yes.
Naomi. Lacey Evans.
Naomi. That's the other one, and she ain't.
Probably Natty. She's not listed anywhere.
Yeah, I think Natty might be on Raw still then. But you look at SmackDown and you got Charlotte, Asuka, Ember Moon, Bayley, the Iconics,
Kairi Sane,
and
Liv Morgan, Mickie James. So you still have Ryan Deville on Raw. You still have
you still got Ruby Riott and Sarah Logan and
but it's far from what it was.
because they split them. Liv's gone,
but you have Ruby Riott and Sarah still on.
Sarah's going to split. We all know she's going to experience the Vikings.
She could be the manager?
Manager worker?
No, I think she'll just be a third option, like China.
I would be kind of there for that.
She's a fucking hoss.
Well,
absolutely. I'm not against it. But I think
she's married to Rowe, right?
Yeah, she's
married to the less hairy one.
I think it's Rowe.
Yeah, because Hanson's the guy with the beard.
Yeah.
The big beard.
Yeah.
But we find out this week coming up who is in the ladder matches for the Money in the Bank. And that's going to be the
Canceled
interesting part.
Backlash too.
Thank God.
Yeah.
Because Backlash has consistently been the biggest piece of shit pay-per-view.
It was just a Mania rerun.
Yeah.
That's what I think they're doing with the Raw SmackDown afterwards, is a fun twist on what already happened on Mania. I think it's honestly
just rounding off feuds for an absolute full stop.
Yeah, your mid-level feuds, just getting them over. That's all I got, guys.
Sounds
about right.
Another great episode in the books. Guys, thank you for listening. Again, follow us on @SportsTrebuchet at Twitter. You can email us at sportstrebuchetpod@gmail.com. Give us some ideas, anything you want us to talk about, we're game for, especially when it's coming into off-season here in a little bit and all we've got going on is baseball. We're going to be doing some fun shit to fill this time.
Once we hit that first June podcast, oh boy.
June, July, I think we should do a podcast every other day and and try to find something. We'll just talk about the weather. For
Diano might actually have to be on the next episode too. Endgame review.
Possibly.
We can do that, but
we'll see.
I don't want to do that.
That's
we'll
fair.
See.
Only because I don't want to put that in the world and fuck it up. Even if we put spoiler.
Yeah,
no
one's
sure
to be that
it's only going to be 2 weeks after, right? So
Yeah.
or less.
Yeah, you're probably right.
And we're going to be pretty packed talking Premier League, what the next season looks like, and then also post-draft.
Yeah, you're right.
Because NASA's going to add 20 minutes to each show. So email us, tweet us, get at us, rate, review, subscribe. We enjoy doing this show, and we enjoy that you enjoy listening to it, I hope.
They don't enjoy listening to it. They use this as torture.
There's a guy hanging upside down in North Korea.
North Korea.
All right, have a good one, everybody.